Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hop into what is quickly becoming one of my favorite topics in the gacha space, and that is the rampant amount of doom posting for Arknights Endfield being perpetrated by Arknights elitists. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, butthurt players from the original game are looking at every new feature and every improvement to Arknights Endfield as something that's going to kill the game, as something that's going to ruin it. And I believe that this video over here by Supa, it's here to break down just everything when it comes to the outrage machine regarding the game, with a nuanced analysis of the drama, outrage, and controversy. And so it looks like he's prepared a bit of a long documentary for us today. We're gonna try it on a bit of a faster speed and see if we can get the full rundown on just how ridiculous this entire situation has become. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get ourselves into it. I've got 1.25 speed on and a nasty cough. Let's see how this one goes.
Is sponsored by you. Links for the channel are in the description.
All right, we're fucked. I'm going back to 1.
The quote, given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game, is a game design principle popularized by Civilization 3 game designer Soren Johnson.
I need to focus up. I need to focus up. Chat needs to focus up. We all need to focus up, okay?
Stating players will take the path of least resistance, even if it means ruining their own game experience.
I mean, the argument makes sense, right? If players are given a bunch of opportunities and given a bunch of tools to streamline their progression in the game, they can oftentimes streamline them to the degree where they take out all the elements that made it fun in their pursuit of optimization. Nothing too crazy over there.
For example, in the alleged video game Heartbound, there is a puzzle you can entirely skip, despite the fact there is an intended solution for you to go through. This defeats the point of having the puzzle. In a PvP game, you must make sure the players aren't ruining their own experience with toxic or boring strategies, because it does not affect just them, but their opponent as well.
That's a fair take.
And even the wider ecosystem of the game. In a grindy MMO, you must make sure the best grinding method is the most fun, lest the players make their playing experience a boring full-time job. So, according to this principle,
Say, I need this. I'm going to lose. I need this. My mom, she's kind of homeless. I live with my dad.
Arknights should be dead in a ditch by now. Wishadel, Tragodia, Silverash Alter, Ulpianus, Monstre, Haruka, and many others completely trivialize a vast majority of the game. It stands to reason then that every player would pick the strongest units in every stage, and thusly botch the game experience for themselves.
Well, that's the thing, right? I think what we're talking about over here, right, is this idea that these really, really strong units are trivializing the overall game experience, right? And a lot of players might view people using these really strong units as like, oh, they're taking away their own fun of the game. But what if part of the fun for some of these players is using these strong units? And that's the thing. That's where elitism comes in. And that's where the crash outs from this Arknights community also come in. Because they're now deciding for other players what fun is. And that is where the massive issue comes from. Because the devs themselves, the Arknights Endfield developers, have said they want players to choose their own fun in this game. They want players to decide on what they're going to be doing to have their fun.
However, I am sure the majority of you watching this know that's not what happened. Arknights has dozens of easy mode options that you could argue even skip the gameplay entirely from how strong they are. Yet it does not suffer from it. Wishadel did not change the game in any meaningful way. Arknights is still thriving, and we are getting some of the most interesting and creative 6-star kits we've ever gotten.
Okay, so he's basically illustrating the case for why all of these concerns that some Arknight elitists might have in the game, he's listing out why they're not actually that valid. Fair.
Each new 6-star has a lot of mechanics for you to sink your teeth into, and plenty of options to get creative. The developers have proven they can handle situations that, on paper, should spell the death of the game.
Okay.
Endfield seems to be in much the same situation, with the combat and the factory. The dodge and the blueprints, on paper, very directly make the game easier and allow you to skip both the strategic depth of combat and the factory management.
I think the idea that dodging allows you to skip the strategic depth of combat is a bit of a interesting take. Some could say it adds another element to combat that isn't there if you only have the strategy. And so some could say the dodge button can make the game harder because now you have a reaction-based, timing-based sort of mechanic that's being layered on top of the strategic gameplay. For example, there's games where they added dodge mechanics and it makes it some of the best foundations ever. Example, Expedition 33. The parry system, the dodge system in that game, where they added a timing-based mechanic to a turn-based strategy game, and that ends up being one of like the craziest and the most fun elements of the actual gameplay, is when you hit those 5 parries in a row and then counterattack with a massive hit. That's how something that makes the game easier, right? Because in Expedition 33, you could just theoretically, right, never ever actually take damage, but it adds layers to the combat.
The reaction from a subset of the community was as you'd expect. Let's talk about that. Also, hi, Arknights Endfield, the most hated YouTuber here. I apologize if there aren't many funnies in this video, for once I am putting my serious cap on.
I find it interesting that he's considered the most hated Arknights Endfield YouTuber when, as far as I'm concerned, he actually has just been spitting the entire video. I think this just shows you how much of the existing Arknights player base is bleeding into Endfield and how much of like an elitist point of view that community actually has. It genuinely feels like this is like the one dude with the right hat on his head, the right thinking cap on, while everyone else is thinking about the game in the most doom-posty, disgusting way ever. And this is the thing. He's in the minority right now. Supa's in the minority right now. With the takes that he has, he's going to be in the majority soon. Because I think one thing that these elitists don't necessarily recognize right now is that, let's be honest, guys, they're actually a very small subset of the population. They're just extremely vocal. And once this game actually releases, they're going to find that their spot in the community is nothing like what they were expecting. And the only example that I need to provide in this situation for how this dynamic is going to play out is punishing Grey Raven to Wuthering Waves. Do you guys know any PGR CCs that made PGR that are actually big in WoWa? No. Because a niche community, niche CCs that specialize in a niche community, have no idea how to operate when a game goes mainstream. And Arknights is a niche community when it comes to content creation and the videos. And once Endfield releases, it's going to be main fucking stream. And these guys posting their dog shit videos and their dog shit takes about how the dodge system and blueprints are awful, they are going to find that that type of content, those types of viewpoints, don't translate over to a mainstream audience. And it's going to be a rude awakening for those individuals. But like I said before, it happens all the time when niche goes mainstream.
I want to specify this video, while it holds a hopeful outlook, is not saying Endfield is good or will be good. I simply do not have the information to make such a statement.
Fair.
The game is not out yet. We do not know how the game will pan out in 1 or 2 years from release.
Fair.
Anything anyone can possibly argue, negative and positive alike, is a slippery slope argument by default.
And I think one of the biggest examples of that is one of the main Doom posters that you'll probably see featured over here, this clown show named Tobero. I might as well just pull him up for some context. This absolute clown show over here was essentially calling anybody who liked blueprints for the factory, right? He was essentially saying that they're like uneducated Philistines who are trying to like...
Did you know that nothing can ever be bad, ever?
Yeah, this is the guy. He basically called everybody else a bunch of uneducated Philistines because they wanted blueprints in the factory. Basically say that they're trying to dumb down every single component of the game and just like kill the game. That's the type of shit that comes out of the mouths of these types of elitists. And I'm not gonna lie. I think he's balding. I don't think he is. I know he's balding. That is balding.
Let's begin with the dodge discussion. There is a reason I have kept myself out of it until now. For those unaware, let me explain what the dodge drama is. During the technical tests, the game played much closer to something like Xenoblade, and did not feature a dodge button. This made the gameplay slower and more tactical.
It looks boring.
People got their hands on it, and
instead of, like, imagine this. Instead of dodging to be able to quickly reposition, you gotta, like, manually move your character, and then they're kind of, like, on, like, you know, like, the turning system, and, like, the movement, like, isn't snappy because they have, like, turning animations and stuff like that. It just looks bad. Having to reposition yourself in that slow-ass way and then tab over to another character, and then you're, like, moving around in, like, these tank engine circles, it just looks bad. It just doesn't look good.
Complained the combat was slow and clunky, and so Hypergriff added a dodge button. This completely short-circuited certain people. They argue adding the dodge is the beginning of the game showing a lack of confidence in what it is, that it is losing its identity, and that it is foregoing artistic integrity for the sake of appealing to the lowest common denominator. Over months and months, the dodge controversy has bred a dissatisfied, toxic, gloomy subset of the community.
Let me just show you an example firsthand of exactly what he's talking about over here. This guy was so caught up over the dodge mechanic that he literally made a video called The Death Knell of Gacha Games, signaling the end of an entire, like, industry over the dodge button. You are the problem with Arknights Endfield. Dodge. Unfortunately, devs listened because they made the dodge better. This is the exact type of shit that he's referencing right over here.
Which, it seems, has now reached the point where they actually just want the game to fail. It cultivated a subsection of people who had a very specific idea of what Endfield should have been.
And don't worry, these guys are experts. They played Arknights for 10 years. And so, they're the pinnacles of game design. Because they have a bunch of experience playing a 2D tower defense game. They know how a 3D action RPG should be developed. And what is going to make a 3D action RPG good. These guys that have 10 years of experience in a 2D tower defense game. This almost feels like stolen valor. This is like the guy, right, who's been grinding Tetris for 20 years. And then they go up and they're like, check out my resume, bro. I've been playing Tetris for 10 years. Surely I can be the next lead developer of World of Warcraft. That's essentially the level of disbelief that you should have when you have 2D tower defense extraordinaires telling you how a 3D action RPG should be designed. They have no leg to stand on in this conversation.
based on the early builds, and are now angry about the direction it has taken in the newer betas, perhaps even feeling robbed and bitter towards who they feel have robbed them. It is a portion of people that is unwilling to engage with Endfield on its own terms and assess it for what it is. Rather, they dismiss it and disregard it for what it is not. There is a fundamental difference between the two. I understand disliking genres. I am entirely allergic to MMOs, for example. But this is not what is happening. It is making swift, all-encompassing judgments on a product before it is even out, or you have even played it.
It reminds me a lot of those individuals who keep talking about how amazing the CBT1 story from Wuthering Waves is. The story where every single fucking person in Solaris 3 hated Rover for absolutely no fucking reason. Yeah, that was the feedback of the story. Everyone was like, why is every single playable character so aggressive towards the MC? This is dog shit. And yet you still have people to this day that saw one cutscene of Crownless beating the shit out of Yang Yang, and they're like, this is peak. This is peak. This is the best thing ever. Why did Kuro Games go away from this original vision? Oh my god, they're absolutely sabotaging the franchise and they're ruining the game. And then now Wuthering Waves has pretty much the best story in gacha. Huh. Interesting how that all panned out.
It is dismissing Endfield for being an open-world dodge battler, without asking if it is a good entry in that genre. It is a dismissal of the—
I got two friends that play Arknights. Their favorite thing to do is join a random Discord channel with people playing a MOBA and then talk over them about Arknights. That sounds about right. Yeah, that does sound like an Arknights player to me.
wide web of systems, which the dodge is part of, that shape the overall game experience, which cannot be gathered from mere gameplay videos.
Yeah, he's right here.
Things like team building, ease of getting the characters, the elemental system, the combo system, the gear system, the weapon system, the control scheme, the UI, and ease of building those characters.
And this is the funny thing. All of these things that he mentioned over here, they're actually the key components of what makes a game feel good or bad. And the only thing that these absolute idiots in the Arknights community are doing is having a seizure over this. And then they don't even think at all about any of these other things. They're just having a seizure over the dodge mechanics. And then completely not even factoring in any of these other components. It's just, Enfield has a dodge? The Hoyo games have dodges too. It can't be good. And that's the entire fucking argument. That's all it is. It's pathetic. Oh my gosh, Arknights Endfield is gonna be a 3D game? The Hoyo games are 3D too. Let's go back to 2D. It's the same argument.
Each one of these aspects has its own identity contributing to the whole. As much as people call games like WoWa Genshin clones, they are not, because they differ in these aspects, creating an experience that, while it shares certain core traits, is ultimately different in its game feel and long-term gameplay.
I can tell bro doesn't play the game because he's using the IGN 2.0 footage. It's so funny how this guy doesn't even play Wuthering Waves, but he's just spitting facts over here about the whole Genshin clone thing. I guess you don't actually need to play these games or have expertise to have the correct opinion. Well done.
And this is just regarding the combat. I am not even mentioning everything else that goes into a gameplay experience, that being the actual design of the open world.
One thing I want to mention is that Endfield looks like it has one of the best open worlds I've ever seen. Yes, like this gameplay footage that they showed from the stream, the open world looks absolutely fantastic.
The story, the writing, the content in the open world, the music, the graphics, and so on. The simple truth is that none of us have enough information to make any judgment, positive or negative. Saying Endfield is Genshin 3.0 and saying Endfield will be amazing and better than everything else on the market would both be uninformed opinions.
I will say one fact about Endfield, though. They're absolutely embarrassing the shit out of Genshin Impact and their developers. because Enfield is developed on Unity, and it looks like 300 times better than Genshin when it comes to its graphics. That's a fact that you can say. They're both developed on Unity, but this game looks far fucking better.
Though please don't think of my position as enlightened centrism. I hate people who sit on the fence and shove it up their ass just as much as the next guy.
I can't wait for Fobmaster to watch this one.
I do believe the game will surpass expectations and be good, but I admit I cannot say that for certain, as it is a conjecture by default, based solely on the trust I have in Hypergriff after witnessing their work for the past 6 years. I've seen people say something akin to, if I wanted Hoyo Slop, I'd go play Hoyo because they do it better, which is kind of crazy, isn't it?
That's the Italian flag, right? So, for everybody that's been curious about the about the accent this whole time, so there you go. You've found the origin. Now, you too know where you need to spend the next 20 years of your life if you want to sound like this too.
You do not know that the game has never been given the chance to prove itself.
I think he's raising a great point, right? These elitists, the ones that are doom posting the game right now, these are the guys that have been playing a Hypergriff product for the greater half of a decade. And they've been sticking with the game. There's a reason why they're elitists of that game. And to see them absolutely have no faith at all in the developers that they've been following like a dog for the greater half of a decade is actually kind of crazy. That's how much these guys have their heads stuck up their fucking ass, where they've been at the beck and call of these devs for the past 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and then they think they know better than the developers about everything. Once again, 2D tower defense extraordinaires telling you how to develop a 3D action RPG. Absolute fucking clown show.
I do want to point out that there definitely exists an even smaller subsect of people where this is just an ego thing, and they wanted to feel superior to the perceived Hoyo Slop games. The more and more Endfield becomes...
I think this point that he's bringing up is extremely relevant. I think that that's actually where a lot of the elitism is coming from. We're not going to be like those disgusting Hoyo dogs. We're not going to be like those disgusting Kuro dogs. Yeah, we're better than them. All we do is we play 2D tower defenses for 10 hours a day. We're better than them. Right? Right, guys? We're better than them. Right, guys? That's what the internal monologue for these individuals has to sound like.
Closer to a mainstream 3D gacha, the less they can parade it around as their unique game that Hoyo could never. This is not a conspiracy. We have seen it before in, for example, the Wuthering Waves community, where a small group of people do not truly care about the inherent qualities of the game. Rather, the game is a vehicle for their elitism and ego. Such a group definitely started to form in the Endfield community as well, especially thanks to all the tribalism that was stirred up.
I love that he showed the exact video that caused this entire debacle. I love that he showed the main video that started this entire debacle. And I'm gonna be honest, this is the most clown show video I've ever seen. It might be the worst video regarding a gacha game I've ever seen.
At the beginning of the Dodge controversy. However, these people are not nearly important enough, impactful enough, or numerous enough to really get into.
And remember what I said about elitists? Remember what I said about a niche community CC going mainstream? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. This is the exact example that he's talking about over here.
I'm merely mentioning them for completion. I made a Twitter post about them, and that's all they're gonna get.
Had the Dodge controversy never happened, I doubt we would have ever seen so much complaint about the factory blueprints either. A lot of the arguments against and even in favor of the blueprints reach so far out they become street hazards for satellites. They peer into their crystal ball and envision a future in which the factory is left behind or perhaps even deleted like the ZZZ TV mode, like the mystical boogeyman of the Hoyo players will ruin the game over time.
Anyone still talking about how the removal of TVs is a bad thing is clinically retarded. I'm just gonna be real with you over there. The game had the most drastic fall off I've ever seen in version 1.0, where I believe over 50% of the population quit the game because the TVs made it literally unplayable. They were so boring, so trash, and so unengaging that people just straight up stopped playing ZZZ. It's like almost a fact that the only streamer with an established audience that plays ZZZ regularly was fucking Fobmaster. That was it. Nobody else wanted to touch that fucking game because TVs fucked their brains. And this is the Arknights developers. Instead of simply adding in the factory without blueprints and then proceeding to have one of the most diabolical player fall-offs that a game can have, it would have been a repeat of ZZZ TVs without the blueprints. Because people would just be like, oh, I kind of don't want to spend 4 hours playing Factorio in my action RPG. Maybe I'll just go play something else. And guess what? That's exactly what ZZZ players did. And the better part about this is when ZZZ had its 3 closed beta tests, everyone said they were trash, the TVs. And then nobody got listened to. They kept them in until release. And then the devs got fucking humbled because so many people quit the game. And I think the Arknights Endfield developers are simply taking notes from ZZZ's launch and just deciding, maybe the players actually do know best.
Such fear is perfectly fair, don't get me wrong, I am not here to invalidate it. I can see where the arguments come from. The current gacha space has itself made people jaded and cynical.
It's 90% because of Hoyoverse. Good lord, I have never seen a company bring all their games downhill all within a year. The amount of power creep, the amount of HP inflation, the amount of specific kits needed to clear the endgame, it's so high in all of the games, and it did not look anything like this a year ago. It didn't look anything like this a year and a half ago. The, downturn in the space has been fucking criminal once you think about it. There are so little people excited for any Hoyo game nowadays.
We've seen it with Genshin, we've seen it with Wuthering Waves, we've seen it with Stella Sora, we've seen it with GFL2, we've seen it with HSR, and many more.
And Wuba has dropped the ball as well. Oh yeah, Wuba has dropped the fucking ball as well. You can't be saying Wuthering Waves is a good game during 2.7. You can't say that. It's not a good game during 2.7.
There is solid ground for the doomposting to stand on. However, far too many people parrot it around as prophecy. In reality, we simply do not know. There are slippery slope.
I think the first red flag that I see over here is that someone was willing to write that much in a YouTube comment. I'm gonna be real. If you've ever written this much in a YouTube comment, ever, it doesn't matter what the topic is, get help. Get help. You want to know what I actually do on my channel when somebody leaves a comment this long? I immediately block them. I don't even read it. I just block them when the comment is this long because they need help. This is not a normal thing to do. And if you find yourself doing this, understand it's not a normal thing to do. And that's why I immediately block somebody that does this so they can recognize just how bad of a use of time writing something this long in a fucking comment section is. Again, I take all their effort and delete it immediately.
Arguments to be made in favor.
Oh, it's going. It's still
Of the blueprints as well. I could argue.
He didn't. He had it on like a relatively fast scroll and still didn't make it to the bottom of it. What the fuck?
that having blueprints actually allows the developers to go even more into the factory management. It gives freedom to get complex with it, without risking alienating the casual player base.
Nobody talks about that plus side, yeah. If you automate some parts of the factory, then that allows you to push the envelope with how complex the factory can be in the future, because you've automated the parts, right? So you've automated certain parts and left more room for complexity in other places. That's actually a fantastic argument, right? Especially when we're in the middle of theory crafting mode because the game hasn't come out. And that's a more optimistic point of view than calling people that like blueprints a bunch of uneducated Philistines. I'm sorry. It's just really ironic to me that I'm getting called an uneducated Philistine by this guy. But yeah, you get the message now at this point.
Who would still have the blueprints to fall back onto. I could argue the base in Arknights has not been abandoned despite how incredibly few people engage with it as evidence of this premonition. But again, who knows? There is one fair criticism of the blueprint system, however, and that is how it affects rewards. Technically speaking, you are rewarded more by copying a popular, efficient community blueprint compared to doing it yourself, which will inevitably be much less efficient compared to a random casual that just copy-pasted from a CN sweatlord. In this environment, you are rewarded for disengaging with the system. Objectively, it's not very good game design in the way it exists right now. Still, even with this truth,
I mean, even if that's like the worst thing ever, then just give somebody a basic blueprint, and then after a X number of days or whatever, after they reach a certain amount of output, then they unlock the player blueprints. I don't fucking know. You can add a level of progression to the blueprint system as well, right? If this is something that people are really butthurt about. The main point of view is that there are plenty of avenues that the developers can take to minimize the feelings that people have, right? Regarding like progression or time stealing or whatever. And it's not really that big of a deal.
Established, the game is single player, and you alone shape what your experience looks like.
And in a similar vein, right? You ever thought about it this way? Imagine if people had this same point of view about character guides and how to build units. Hey guys, if you take somebody's blueprint, you gotta pay them a certain percentage of the drops because they gotta get rewarded. Hey guys, if you copy my character build that I posted on YouTube, you've gotta donate to me a percentage of your damage. Yeah, I'm actually going to take 1% of your Cartithia's damage after you build her and then add it to mine because you used my guide. Do you see how that could be related to? Hey guys, you read my guide on how to pull on the gacha? I'm going to take 1% of your pulls because you read my guide on how to pull on the gacha.
Kind of a related example, Monster Hunter Wilds introduced two new things to the series. A bird that is able to pick you up when you get hit and sent to the ground.
That's not a bird. Okay? Don't fucking call that a bird, bro. It's like it's a mount. Okay? Why would you call that a fucking bird?
And crippling performance issues. While there isn't much to do about the latter, I just refuse to use this fucking bird to pick me up. I think this mechanic sucks, and it removes a lot of the risk from hunts, making an easy game even easier. So, even if on paper I am rewarded more for disengaging with the combat and letting the secret erase my mistakes, I can choose not to, and I am having a more personally satisfying experience for it.
Hey, it's a single-player game. He's right. It's a single-player game.
Even if I am at a disadvantage. Admittedly though, this is kind of a cope. Those features are still bad game design and they are still in the game. But it is something worth mentioning, that it is not a crippling game issue that will make it impossible for you to enjoy the game.
If you want like the actual like real-life implication of this is like a hangnail. This is like a hangnail. It's kind of annoying. It'll bother you every once in a while, but then you just like clip it and then, you know, it'll bother you again in like a couple of weeks, right? People are equating this hangnail to like you losing your hand. And that's where the doom posting is just getting absolutely insane when it comes to this blueprint system.
Unlike what some people make it sound like. But there is an elephant in the room yet to address. Some people would ask a very simple question. What company would ever make content for something only a small portion of the player base engages with?
I've already said my example over here. Y'all know about the Serenity Pot? Y'all know about Genius Invocacion TCG? Y'all know about the fucking Divergent Universe in Honkai Star Rail?
On paper, it makes no sense. Well, I have your answer. Hypergriff. They have shown repeatedly that they will do that in Arknights
I hope he brings up Hoyoverse too with all those adjacent game modes.
across 6 years. They will update SSS. They will update Reclamation Algorithm and are currently working on Reclamation Algorithm 3.
What this is telling me is that these Arknight elitists don't even play their own game. I think that's what this is telling me. That they don't even play their own fucking game. Because how is it that this guy is just bringing up examples of where Hypergriff is doing it themselves?
They just updated IS2, a 4-year-old mode, and the base still gets pretty regular updates. This is in spite of the utterly minuscule amount of people who actually engage with that content. The same goes for the story. In Arknights, the story is not presented like in a 3D gacha, meaning that you are forced to engage with it as you progress through gameplay. In Arknights, gameplay and the story are separated, and thusly very few people actually read the story. Hypergriff knows this, and despite the fact a very small amount of people engage with it, the story has only been improving over time. Hypergriff has a strong track record of catering to small minorities in their games. So, if there is any company I would consider trusting to keep updating the factory even though there's blueprints, it is the company that keeps improving the story in Arknights despite the skip button and the fact few people actually read it.
Hey, I think that's fair. He's bringing up his own glue. It's just, man, it makes you wonder why all of these Arknight elitists that get to see firsthand all the ways that Hypergriff sustains features in their games, it makes you wonder why the Arknights players are the ones doom posting Enfield the most. Maybe the reality is that clown shows like Tobero don't actually play the game. They just pretend they do, and the only times they actually play the game is when they're busy team killing their teammates, because bro decided to drop an entire music video about how he team kills his teammates.
By the confession, an inclination, the dispossessions are very malevolent, and out of patience with such lack of etiquette.
He made an entire music video about how he team kills his teammates in co-op modes. A literal AMV about team killing his teammates in fucking co-op. Guys, these guys are fucking losers. These guys are fucking losers. I don't know what else to say.
Hey, Super from the future here. If you think about it, blueprints are kind of wishadel. Bear with me here. Both the factory blueprints and the operator wishadel from Arknights share the same space in the ecosystem of the game. That space apparently being a memetic agent that causes certain people to act in a certain way.
This is not pre-watched, by the way. Is he gonna bring up the team killing from this dude?
That way being something along the lines of caring way too much how other people play a single-player game.
This guy cared so much that people were using Wishadel that he felt the need to kill them with his own character. Because he just could not handle that other people were having fun in the way that they wanted to. That is the elitist part of this community. That is how their mindset works.
Be it Arknights players shaming those who use Wishadel, or Endfield not actually players yet, shaming people who plan to use blueprints in the future.
You can only have fun in the way that I've dictated.
Mind you, what I am saying now is entirely detached from anything inherent to the blueprints or how they will affect the game. This Super from the Future segment is about the social community aspect of it. It seems this subset of people is perplexed as to why someone would ever choose to play Endfield but skip the factory management, equating it to downloading a puzzle game like Portal 2, only to then watch a guide for every puzzle, thusly skipping the appeal of the game. Beyond the fact that someone could be playing Portal 2 just for the story and the character interactions, I should not have to explain why this is a bad comparison.
You look at any single post from an Arknights elitist, and one thing you'll recognize is that nobody would agree with the take that they're making unless they're mentally ill. And the take that I'm beginning to realize is that when you see the relatively high like ratios on videos as retarded as this, where the guy's just bragging again about griefing his teammates in co-op, and you see a like ratio that looks like this, I genuinely think just a significant portion of the Arknights community is actually mentally ill. Because these guys don't act like regular people. They genuinely act like they should be in, like, some type of facility. That they should be committed somewhere. That's what it feels like.
Truth is, for as much as you want it to be, Endfield is not a factory builder. Endfield is an open-world action RPG with factory builder elements.
Yep.
Therefore, there is quite a wide variety of reasons for which someone might want to play Endfield that are not the factory building. They could be the action combat, the characters, the story, the lore, the open world exploration, or even something else.
All those things that he mentioned, the action gameplay, the lore, the characters. That's why I'm playing. I'm not playing for the fucking factory. I'm playing for like the team building, I'm playing for the combat, I'm playing for the exploration, I'm playing to explore that open world. I'm not there to spend 5 hours in fucking Factorio.
I haven't thought of. I've seen people play games just for the photo mode.
He's not wrong. Yo, he ain't wrong. We have an entire event in Wuthering Waves that's just dedicated to those players. Yes, sir. We got an entire goddamn event dedicated to those players.
So, to shame or shun people for not engaging with the factory, I feel is not appropriate behavior, when there are plenty of reasons someone would play the game outside of the factory.
Guys, this is like a job, right? Let's say at this job, 90% of the time, you're doing fun stuff. Or you're doing stuff that's like palatable. That's okay. And then the other 10% is, well, you gotta go clean up the bathroom a little bit. Hey, somebody clogged the toilet. They had McDonald's and Chipotle and Taco Bell all at the same night. They clogged up the toilet a little bit. We need you to go handle that. This would be like you saying, unless you enjoy cleaning up somebody's diarrhea, you must hate this job. Because a part of this job involves cleaning up somebody else's diarrhea. And if you don't love that, then you shouldn't even be having this job. Who cares if 90% of the rest of your time, you're actually doing things that you like doing at work? You gotta like the 10% of the time that you're cleaning up somebody's diarrhea. Otherwise, this job is not for you. I like 90%. 95% of what's going to be in Enfield. But if I don't like the factory, then people are saying you got to skip the entire game. What a bunch of dipshits.
Enfield is not like a puzzle game. There is much more outside of the factory.
So, am I saying Endfield is good or will be good for certain? No, obviously not. I simply do not have the information to make that judgment call.
And nobody does.
I am saying that this most recent stream has shown me the Endfield community as a subset of people who are bitter, gloomy, and elitist about losing a perfect version of Endfield they had in their minds.
Remind anybody of Wuthering Waves in CBT1? I think Ryuku Sensei is still like beating up like one of those inflatable dolls every night because he didn't get his cutscene of Crownless beating the shit out of Yang Yang. So he just reenacts it every night with like a blow-up doll.
Or that they feel was stolen from them. But why do those people feel robbed exactly? Well, it is because of what I explained before. The technical tests were very different. They showed what was essentially an entirely different game, one they deemed unique and special, not falling into the Hoyoverse trap, while still holding up a high standard when it came to animations and graphics. But think about it, could a game like that, only catering to a niche but loyal player base, support the budget required for this level of quality?
No. That's the thing. I don't think a lot of people recognize that Arknights Endfield is shaping up to be potentially one of the most expensive games that's ever released. Stuff like this, fidelity like this, graphics that look like this, menus that look like that, all those animations, all of that stuff, that's like not like free. And when you also consider the fact that Hypergriff has been making 2D games before this, and this is their first foray into 3D, and then it looks this good, I don't think that those results came cheap.
And that's the crux of it. Endfield needs...
And once again, should you be listening to people that have played 2D tower defense games for over a decade? Should we be listening to those guys over people that actually play 3D action RPGs? When Hypergriff is making a 3D action RPG, who do you listen to? Other 3D action RPG players or the fucking 2D tower defense players? I know which one I would do, and I know what Hypergriff did. They told the tower defense players to go fuck yourself, and they listened to the action RPG 3D players.
To succeed. The game is a high-budget, high-end, AA live service game, and therefore, Endfield needs to succeed in a way Arknights never had to, and to sustain its own budget, there have to be sacrifices to be made.
But this is the thing. I don't even know if sacrifices is the right term over here, because sacrifices implies that you lost something to gain something else instead, or that you just lost something. Does anyone even know if we've lost anything yet when the game hasn't even fucking released?
It's like a lot of these people expected some sort of perfect world, where Endfield can be both a high-budget, wonderfully made and gorgeous game, while also being a niche little passion project factory builder game, with strategic niche combat gameplay. The two can't truly coexist, unfortunately.
That's true. These elitists wanted a niche game. They wanted niche systems for everything, but then the graphical fidelity and the quality of a game that isn't niche. You want to know what you call that in the development space or the gacha space? You call that EOS. You call that EOS on launch. You call that DOA, actually. That means dead on arrival.
And mind you, I'm not defending the new gacha system or the battle pass. The new gacha system is 100% a step back, introducing FOMO which did not exist prior.
Hey, my take is, depending on how many standard pulls you get and whether or not your standard pull has a selector, it's easier to acquire characters in this system than whatever shit they had before where they were putting characters in the standard pool. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you move a character from the limited banner to the standard pool, your standard pool of characters just keeps fucking growing. And so how do you select a character after they've been moved into standard? And how do you actually get them? I don't fucking know, right? You would need to have some sort of system built in to make those other characters acquirable. But here, if you miss her, right? Then this person will show up on the 50-50 loss. Apparently. These people show up in the loss pool. And so you get the chance, and then they show up in the loss pool for the next couple of versions. So it's like, as long as you're pulling within like 4 versions, you have I assume you would have a decent chance of getting them.
And the Battle Pass, while it does pay for itself upon completion, meaning you only need to buy it once if you are diligent with your logins, still leaves a bad taste in my mouth and is an inherently predatory business module due to its nature.
I think battle passes are nice if you're a player that actually genuinely enjoys the game and plays it every day. If you're going into it with the assumption that a battle pass is like there to like keep your logins and stuff, I kind of view it as battle passes are like a bonus because I like this game so much that I'm playing it every day. That's how I personally view battle passes. Yeah, I guess if you feel FOMO from a battle pass because you don't actually want to play the game every day, then it's a bit more of a concern. I don't think battle passes are bad at all. I think they're actually great. I think they're perfectly fine. I've never really had issues with battle passes before, unless they're like ones that you literally can't complete unless you pay money. Those are different. I'm talking about like the battle passes that are in like, you know, some of the games where they have like some ultimate skin, like the League of Legends ones, right? Where you have to pay money or else you literally can't complete it. Those BPs are an issue. But ones where you just have enough from like regular gameplay to like fully unlock everything, I mean, I don't really see an issue. I think that their implementation of the Battle Pass, I think what Enfield has is once you complete the Giga Premium one, you get enough resources, paid currency, to just buy the next one. So you buy one, and if you play enough to fulfill all the missions, you get the next one for free. That seems pretty good to me.
Before you even think it, which at this point were like 20 minutes in the video, so you probably thought about it, this video is not a hit piece or a subtweet on Toborwo.
It is. Okay? It is. You are absolutely dismantling his entire career with this video. Let's not play any fucking games. There's a reason why I brought up Toburo so many times. You fucking cooked his ass.
The guy himself, for as much as he seems to viscerally hate me...
Wait, did he write this? Hey, Super Alt, if you're reading this, people don't hate you for your opinions. People hate you because you're a cunt, and you don't behave like an adult. And frankly, I'm embarrassed to share a continent with you.
Every day the global server only convinces me that it just might be impossible to rid ourselves of all this decadence. Just clear the level, I need the medal. I'm only here for the rewards and nothing else. My past aggression for everyone's wish Adele was never...
Just shave it.
Seems to viscerally hate me, has repeatedly proven he has critical thinking skills, and is sharing his criticism in good faith. He himself has realized the Dodge drama is stupid and doesn't matter. However, it is undeniable the effects those videos have had on a lot of people, due to them, perhaps, being a little unnecessarily and overwhelmingly negative. An Endfield video
Sorry, wait, let me see that again. Supa is the only Arknights content creator in existence I will actively shit on. He is unnecessarily and overwhelmingly negative. Am I taking crazy pills? Are those can't be real Discord messages, right? Those aren't real Discord messages, right? Unfortunately, devs listened. What? This guy needs to get committed. There's no, I feel like I'm going insane. Bro has a debuff aura. Bro walks in. He's got a debuff aura. -5 on, like, wisdom saving throws. What the fuck?
And overwhelmingly negative. An Endfield video that does not go over his channel would simply be incomplete. On the China Joy stream reaction video, there was a pinned comment, explaining that Toboro disabled comments on the video to avoid negativity. It said something along the lines that he saw too much doom and gloom for his taste, and he still wants people to be excited for Endfield like he is. Here is a screenshot of that comment I found on Twitter.
They legit saved the game with the changes, especially the base changes? Absolutely. Enfield's going to be an amazing game that's going to have a very healthy player base and people are going to love it, right? And this video is just focusing so much on the individuals that are trying their hardest to make sure that that isn't a reality. And they're just so pathetic, it's unreal.
I need to use Twitter because this comment is gone.
Wait, I want to see what this comment is. Comments have been turned off. Been reflecting over the past few days, and I still stand by everything I've said in all of my Enfield videos. That has not changed. But the videos do not exist in isolation from each other, and it's become clear to me from recent comments that my presentation has caused a lot more doom and gloom than I previously thought, and it would be very understandable for someone who doesn't know much about Enfield to get a very bad impression of the game if my videos are their only context. So rather than let it fester and spiral, I'm just gonna leave this video alone. It should go without saying, but unless something extreme happens and warrants discussion, I'm not going to talk about the dodge anymore because I'm just as aware as everyone else that it's gotten out of hand. This game is much more than its combat system. So, I guess he made that comment and then proceeded to release this video where instead of shitting on the dodge, he decides to shit on everything else in the game. Awesome. Amazing. Well done. All right, well, I guess at least we're not talking about the dodge anymore.
I need to use Twitter because this comment is gone, and the title of the video is back to what it was originally. For someone that wants people to be excited about Endfield and doesn't feel comfortable letting the doom and gloom comments spiral out of control and treated this as a learning experience, he sure does seem to like stirring the pot.
Oh, that's a cop moment there, bucko! Oh no! Oh, radical!
Did you know that nothing can ever be bad, ever? Yes, that's right. If you like something, every single decision made by the people that made it must therefore be good. Integrity is elitist, actually. And apparently, talking about your concerns is crashing out. Being critical of something you like is doomposting, and wanting games to be unique and interesting is elitist. Absolutely nothing I say or do short of deleting my channel and killing myself will be good enough for people who think like that. Crash out doomposting elitist here. And if only a tiny fraction of players are engaging with a certain part of the game, why the hell would they invest their resources into building on it and developing it further? But I'm calling it now, once we go elsewhere, it will be dramatically less important with each new region. And then that's all followed up with, the goal is to let more administrators fall in love with what makes this experience special, the joy of building with your own hands. You have allowed your game to be lobotomized by Philistines.
Hey guys, if you like blueprints, you're a lobotomizing Philistine.
People who do not even slightly give a shit about your art. People who will abandon you in droves the moment a shinier distraction appears. But hey, devs listened.
All of those things because somebody said they wanted blueprints. You're gonna abandon the game when something shiny comes up because you want blueprints.
That's all that fucking matters, right? Devs listening to the most asinine, illiterate demographic on Earth? The kind of people who will actively try to turn your game into the shit that lazy parents put on an iPad in front of their drooling toddler?
However, do not get me wrong again, I am not attributing this to malice. I understand how this argument can come off. I do not want you to think I am calling Toborwo a grifter farm.
You fucking ruined him! I'm just gonna be real over here, bro. You fucking ruined him with that display. He's fucking cooked.
Enragement for clicks. That is demonstrably not the case. I believe what happened is that Toborwo thought that by front-loading the video with positive information and explaining all he liked about the stream first, that would lessen the blow and stop the dooming from spiraling.
That's what you call a shit sandwich, by the way, and it's one of the... When people know that you're intentionally using a shit sandwich, it's not a good idea to use a shit sandwich. And that's when you take something normal or complimentary, then you put in a pile of dog shit, which is the part that we just saw in the video, and then end it on a positive note at the end.
I wish it worked like that. Making a video like this and directly making fun of the people complaining about doomposting with such a snarky attitude
and crazy eyes. Don't forget that. It's the snarky attitude plus the crazy eyes and the evident balding that just kind of like, it just all like kind of like combines together, right? In like some fucking like forbidden magical circle and just creates like a literal gotcha demon.
does nothing but achieve the very thing he's said he wishes to avoid, that being the doom spiraling out of control. All that quick-fire reaction.
Like, it kind of looks like a tacit field. If you, like, really focus up, it kind of looks like a tested field.
Videos like these truly achieve is dividing the community even more, while giving the people who are bitter, dissatisfied and toxic encouragement to continue being that way, and thusly inviting more toxicity from the opposite side as well. No.
Glad they are improving the game and not implementing your elitist dog shit force mechanics and thus making the game good and not dead on arrival. Yeah, that's one of my viewers. I bet.
One is innocent. It also makes Toboro himself look like a grifter, which is a clearly wrong view of the guy.
This fucking guy hates him. This guy fucking hates him, bro. When you saw the past messages Toboro was making about this guy, saying that he's like super negative, all this shit, oh, I bet bro is just, he's just fucking, oh, he's cleaning him up, bro.
Even if posting this video and then going back to delete the comment about him reflecting on the impact and the consequences of videos like the one he just posted.
Yeah, he did all of these things, guys. I promise he's not a grifter. Yeah, he just totally flip-flop, crisscross, applesauce his way in and out of 3 different situations within the past month. But I promise you, he's not a grifter, guys. Just look at all this evidence of him grifting. He's just not grifting, though.
Is not a good look. Personally, I also posted some rage bait immediately after the stream, which I have now deleted, as even facetiously, it's not something that should remain up, which is why I am not attributing Toboro's behavior to malice or grifting, just an incorrect emotional response from someone that got very angry. I was not immune to a reactionary emotional reaction either. And God knows I am very familiar with making mistakes. Still, this warrants pointing out.
Hey, we got some self-accountability over here.
In the end, I don't know why people are so distrusting of Hypergriff, as if this company has not proven themselves for the past 6.5 years. Yes, companies are not your friend, but I am just looking at the facts here. The base in Arknights was not abandoned. SSS, reclamation algorithm, every other failed mode was not abandoned. The story keeps getting better and better despite the skip button and despite the fact few people actually read it.
Well, again, this is gonna be my take on skip buttons. Skip buttons doesn't mean your game is bad. It's just if your game story is actually good, people won't use the skip button. It is what it is. That's why there's so many people that play Wuthering Waves story all the way through, even though it has a skip button. Shocking, I know. It's when you don't need to basically force your players to play the story, that incentivizes you to make the story good. When you give players the choice of whether or not they can skip it, then you better make a good fucking story, otherwise they're gonna skip it. And so, any game that doesn't have a skip button has no confidence in their fucking story. It is what it is.
Despite how much the game changed over the years, its core identity remained. The game has rampant objective power creep, and yet Hypergriff has shown they know how to handle it, and still make the game enjoyable, arguably even thanks to the power creep. If there is one company I could consider trusting when it comes to cooking with Endfield, it is Hypergriff. Even in the new gacha system and battle pass, which I feel everyone can unanimously agree are not great, you can tell Hypergriff is trying to compromise, to find the middle ground between sustaining Endfield's high live service budget and not being too predatory.
Again, like I said before, I think people are reading way too much into, like, the whole gacha changes in the battle pass. Again, we can use the same argument that has been said in this video before. It hasn't released yet, you don't even know how it works, fully.
The gacha system, while making everyone limited, has each operator live for much longer time compared to the competition. The battle pass...
And you want to know one thing that having limited characters actually does? It disincentivizes power creep. because you know that your player base is going to freak out the fuck way more when you start power creeping limited characters, i.e. Honkai Star Rail. And guess what, guys? To a degree, a lot of people have just quit that game because limited characters are just so much stronger than every other limited character that released before. And so in a way, it holds the devs accountable, and it also lets you know when the game is going downhill. When they start power creeping every limited character, you know that the game is then cooked.
While inherently predatory due to its nature, pays back for itself on completion.
Yeah.
I am not saying the new gacha system and the battle pass are good. I am not saying that the compromise justifies those systems. I am not saying the blueprints are good. I am not even saying the dodge is good. I have not played the game. I don't know.
I like that he's finishing up with that, though.
I am saying that Hypergriff has
played it.
proven itself for 6 years, and even now, you can tell they are trying to compromise. So, personally, I am willing to let them cook. In the end, I am hopeful, but that's just me. Maybe I am just too hopeful or naive. God knows I watched TTGL too many times. Maybe I'll be eating my words a year from now. That's all. Max out your last right. Bye.
Is this just an outro for the last? All right. Well, anyways, he's got like a fucking 2-minute outro. I've got to say, great overall video and absolutely pristine cook on one of the biggest freaks I've ever seen in the gacha space. And like I've said before, this guy is a complete menace, biggest hypocrite, most absurd grifter I've ever seen. And I loved this video so much because I've had the severe displeasure of actually watching. I watched this video. I watched that video. I saw this one, and then I also saw this one. And I'm gonna be real. Though they were all awful experiences, I felt like I was literally getting talked to by somebody that was a committed patient at the asylum. And this has been genuinely one of the best, if not the best, Arknights Endfield, Arknights adjacent videos I've ever seen. And I love that the like ratio on this one is so positive. It makes me feel like the crazy pills that got forcibly injected into me by the Arknights elitists are now getting filtered out. And I'm just gonna be honest. It feels like when it comes to this game and it comes to this community, this is like the first video that feels like it's like sober. Everything else has felt like it's like a drunk disaster or like it's some intoxicated nightmare. So yeah, awesome video by Supa. Great to see it. I know it was a little bit long, but hopefully you all enjoyed the ride that we went on too. And the subtitles definitely did help. Bro got a thick ass accent. So yeah, that'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought, and peace out.